What is up, everybody? It's me, Josh, aka Noir Proxy, bringing you some Wolfenstein Youngblood today. And it's pretty freaking awesome. I have been really wanting to play this game. It's been a long time in the making. I think maybe a year, maybe two. Actually, not that long. But it's really cool that a series like Wolfenstein, which obviously kind of... It obviously was like one of those original first-person shooters, and then they had like the little PC moment with it, and there was that random PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 game, and it was that kind of thing where after that it went really, really quiet, and it took a long, long time for BJ Blazkowicz to come back and to actually get like this fully-fledged game that was on the level of, say, like Doom. Like, Doom was awesome, obviously, and then there was that kind of thing where Wolfenstein kind of got that kind of treatment too, where it was a bit more narrative, and that's one thing I always brought up in my reviews, is that they did a really awesome job of creating a really strong narrative in a game that was just about killing Nazis. You know, it was you didn't have to make that much effort. All you had to do was Doom with Nazis, you know, and they ended up making this really awesome deep story where it was all about kind of like political agendas and the revolution of, you know, what ifs and things like that, like all the exaggerations of, say, like, you know, defeating the Nazis and, you know, liberating the world and things like that. It was just really, really cool, really, really awesome. And the one thing that always brought down Wolfenstein, I feel, especially the second game, was the stealth. The stealth was really, really weak. And it was great because with Youngblood, which I've been playing constantly, I got this on Sunday, I believe, and so I've been playing this non-stop for like the last 2 days. I'm level 33, as you can see here. This is literally about maybe 10 minutes ago. I ended up just completing Brother 2 Tower, and I had so much fun with it. Oh my goodness. This is the thing, as I was saying, the stealth is so fun. In Wolfenstein The New Colossus, one thing that was a massive issue was that the stealth didn't really make sense. Like, if an enemy saw you, and you never really understood if an enemy saw you, because they kind of like did the whole Metal Gear Solid kind of vision triangle thing, but once they saw you, you didn't really have like a moment to kind of like undo it, you know, like they didn't kind of go, huh, or get suspicious. And so one thing that is awesome, thanks to Arcane, who are actually developing this game instead of Machine Games, is they've ended up kind of utilizing their Dishonored stealth system, which is fantastic. I love the Dishonored series as well, and it does really well in Wolfenstein. Because with Wolfenstein The New Order and The New Colossus, they kind of wanted to do that thing where you had two kind of like different play styles. If you wanted to go like stealth, you could do stealth. If you wanted to do kind of action, you could do action. Or if you kind of wanted to do like a mix of the two, then you could do that as well. And so what they've done here is in Youngblood is that they've allowed you to kind of pick which one you want to do. You don't actually have to do all action all the time. You can actually just do stealth, which is awesome, which is cool, which is fantastic, because people like to have that kind of playstyle where they just want to be sneaky, where they want to be awesome and like ninja-like. And that's especially so with the new kind of like combat armors, which they've kind of really force-fed into Series 2. You may remember it in The New Order, where I think one of your teammates gets it, the old lady who can't like walk and stuff, and so she gets this really cool kind of like Atlantis power armor. And then later on, BJ gets it when he can't walk himself in The New Colossus. And so what they've ended up doing is they've made it where the power armor from The New Colossus is kind of like this weaponized suit that 20 years later is just being used by pretty much everybody, you know. And so his daughters, his twin daughters, who are brought into this world at the end of The New Colossus, are kind of like going on this mission to find him, and they end up inheriting these two suits, which are from the FBI, supposedly. So the FBI has these really cool suits. It's kind of like the SAS, I guess, uses these tactical, futuristic armors of badassery. They're pretty much the Doomslayer suits, in a sense, but they've been kind of made into, again, it's like this ancient alien technology, and they've kind of tried to like put that kind of spin on it, but it just does basically what the Doomslayer suit does. You know, it's called the Praetorian armor, the Praetor suit. It's called the Praetor suit, right? I'm trying to remember really far back now. I haven't played Doom in ages, but I'm really excited for Doom Eternal. And it's just this thing where I'm really happy with what, you know, Wolfenstein and Doom are getting at the moment. I really hope the Evil Within gets it as well, as potentially with a third game. Is this thing of kind of like sequelitis, in a sense, where sequels are getting really good kind of treatment. You know, it's not this thing where it's kind of like just rushing it out there. They're all getting like really cool kind of like upgrades and extensions, and I think that's really fantastic. Like the Youngblood supposedly was going to be DLC for The New Colossus, and then they ended up just thinking, you know what, this game is like just way too big. Let's just make a fully fledged game itself instead of just kind of like an expansion story. And it kind of pays off in a really, really strong way, because what they're doing obviously is having it where it's 2-player now. It doesn't have couch co-op, but it actually has has online co-op, and it has a really cool mechanic in there that I want to talk about in a second as well. But the one thing that is a really hard selling point is obviously how do you make the combat with the co-op work? You know, it's this kind of thing where obviously with Wolfenstein in itself, you kind of steamroll through enemies. It's like very action-packed, obviously, as you can see here. But it's this kind of thing where how do you make it where if you've got 2 times the manpower, or the lady power in this sense, and they're awesome. There's one thing I want to say too, do not question the ladies in this. They will whoop your ass. They are so freaking cool, and I want to talk about them as well. Is that how do you make it so that the gameplay kind of like lasts a little bit longer, you know, so you're just not just like rushing through areas. And so what they're doing is they've ended up putting kind of like a leveling RPG system into it. So all the weapons now have like damage values and stuff. You can do things like upgrades for the guns, you know, and also like kind of like that kind of thing where you could upgrade them in the New Order and in New Colossus as well. Is that in this one you kind of like buy upgrades and it changes the appearances. There are 3 different sets per weapon, which is really cool too. So with this one it's called like the Steer set or something, which is all about damage output for the assault rifle, which I was just using. And you can do that with all the weapons again, like so if you have the BFG, which I'm using here, or if you use like the grenade launcher, or I suppose there's some even newer weapons in this game where every time you complete a tower, like currently what we're doing is the Brother 2 tower. There's like 4 towers in the game. It's all about kind of like completing each one. There's like a boss in each one as well, and each one has like a unique weapon that you can unlock. And so in this one I got the grenade launcher, which you saw, and you're going to see a little bit more as well. And it's this kind of really cool thing where they've ended up doing this RPG system where enemies will kind of like level up with you. Some of them will be stronger, some of them will be, you kind of like stay within your level. So if you get like too high in a sense, then lower enemies kind of like go up to your level as well. So you don't just kind of feel like you're constantly steamrolling. It feels like it can still be challenging and fun at the same time. You can steamroll, but they could potentially steamroll you too. You kind of like have that equal amount of power when it comes to the enemies you fight. And it's that kind of thing too where like, see, with these guys here, you know, with the ones without any like armor and stuff, they are just, you can just kill them like instantly. But then when it comes to like people with actual power armor themselves, it has that kind of justified feeling of, yeah, they are actually badass. I'm not just kind of like melt their armor and things. You actually do get that feeling that they are kind of like this challenge. But then you do again have that kind of ability of stealth where you can do things like insta kills if you get behind enemies, and I've actually been leveling up my ability to throw axes or knives, and so this allows you to actually go into 3 different stages of leveling up with the throwable objects, where you can actually do like quad damage or double damage or something like that, and it means that you can actually break through shields and stuff and have this thing where if you want to just like go around camoing, as you can see, and just like stealth killing people with throwable axes and knives, if you just want to stab people in the heads and hack off limbs, you can do that. You can completely do that. And as you can see here too, the stealth system again has been really well done, where they have that kind of like suspicious symbol above their head. It's kind of like, oh, they are actually going to go check out the area, and it allows you to kind of like go around them, flank, and then take them out, which I think is really badass. Again, it's that thing where you didn't have that in the previous games. It was kind of like a fingers crossed kind of thing. I guess you could say it was kind of more about initiation. Like in the first 2 games, you kind of didn't really go for all-out stealth. It was more of a thing of you kind of took out a few guys, gals, and then you kind of like went in for the action. It was all about the action. But because you have 2 different players here, you can actually kind of like work together and kind of like systematically take down foes. You may notice there a pep system. So this is the thing when it comes to leveling up your characters and upgrading stuff and unlocking things. There's so much stuff to unlock, and that's really cool too about it, because the gameplay is obviously samey, like Doom, where it's kind of like just over and over again where you're just killing enemies, but you need something to work towards because this game is a lot larger when it comes to the more open world aspect of it. It's still semi-open world like the others, but it's this thing where you kind of have this, you're going to be going back to the same hub kind of like overview world levels a lot and stuff, and then kind of doing like side quests. It kind of reminds me a lot of Prague in Deus Ex Mankind Divided. You know how you were always in Prague and you kind of like did little side missions and stuff? You basically have different Pragues in this one, which is kind of badass. It's like Deus Ex but bigger in a sense, or Deus Ex Mankind Divided. This is kind of what Mankind Divided needed to be. It needs to have those multiple kind of like hub levels, and you did stuff within them, and it's just cool. It's just fun, and all the environments are different. They're really beautiful as well, as you saw the lighting and stuff. They look at all that with the smoke and things, and the textures are just really sharp too. Just really badass. And again, the stealth is super fun, super accessible, and it's this kind of thing where you don't have to kind of like try and master it. You can just do it if you want, and it's the same with the gunplay too. You can just have fun with it, and I love that. I love the accessibility when it comes to like upgrading things and just kind of like going with the leveling up system too. Like, there's been a lot of reviews saying that the enemies, when they're kind of like out-level you really, really hard, but there's kind of a point to that because they don't want you to rush within the narrative, you know? It's this kind of thing where you could possibly go to the end of the game, I guess, but you need to kind of, like, kill the 4 bosses, and you could kind of, like, go to them if you wanted to, but it'd be so freaking hard, and you just have, like, such a unfun time, so it's actually worth just leveling up. It's this kind of thing where you might as well just kind of, like, you know, kick some ass and play the game and enjoy the side quests and do the daily challenges and stuff, which they have done as well. It's kind of like, say, those live service games where you got, like, Apex and stuff, or Assassin's Creed. So what you can do is you can do like daily challenges, like kill a certain amount of enemies, or go collect some coins, or do some really cool parkour tricks and stuff like that. So by doing challenges, you unlock coins, and you can like unlock weapons and skins for your guns and your suits and stuff like that too. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing what they might do in the future, if they do anything else in the future as well, because there are microtransactions in this. You can afford all of them but one of each kind of like skin in the game. I think there's like a military skin, and you need like gold bars to unlock it. I don't know why they did that, but they made it so then if you want the military skin, which is just green, it's just like green beret, kind of like, you know, green. It's kind of like a military green, I guess you could say. And if you want that, then you have to like buy actual currency, which kind of sucks. But it's that kind of thing where it doesn't really matter, because all the other skins are purchasable in-game, and they're all really cheap as well. You kind of like unlock and gain and find credits really, really fast, so I really wouldn't worry or complain about that. But then it's that thing where, because you're going to be spending coins on weapon upgrades, you don't have to worry about those microtransactions. It's that kind of thing where you don't feel like you're being forced to pay for them, or to, you know, or it kind of like hinders your kind of gameplay experience, because you're also leveling up. So it's this kind of thing where you're getting the weapon upgrades, which obviously kind of like amplify your damage output, or your handling, or your, you know, shots per second and stuff. But it's that thing too where, because you're leveling up, you're kind of doing like standard overall damage output as well, so you're kind of able to take on enemies without feeling like you're just being held back and have to kind of like buy stuff. You can see here, look, you can buy these skins, and you can buy them with in-game coins, or you can buy the gold bars if you want. There's like really no issue. I got the deluxe edition, so I can get this really cool cyberpunk kind of thing. So badass. You got different helmets that you can use. You got, again, like different weapon skins. You have all these different abilities that you can unlock when you level up. And it kind of has a narrative justification too, because obviously BJ Blazkowicz was this kind of like uber soldier from the get-go. It's this thing where he could just kick some serious butt cheeks. But then when it came to his daughters, they kind of have to learn, and it's this thing where you get to experience at the beginning of the game as well, them kind of like bonding with their parents, and then also actually doing their first kill, which is really cool. And their experience with that, it kind of has that like Lara Croft from the kind of like remake of Tomb Raider kind of vibe to it as well, where they kind of like experience it and what they go through with that. It's very quick, and they kind of like make fun of it, where it's this thing of they're not kind of like going through kind of turmoil. They think it's really awesome, and it kind of like goes with that kind of Wolfenstein thing where it's like blood and guts and violence and fun. So if you can get beyond that and kind of like, you know, revel in it with the narrative, then it's actually really fun. And it kind of goes with the two sisters as well, as I was going to say, is that it's this thing where they're really cool. They made this kind of like ability where the characters are kind of like fun on their own kind of like standing ground. It's not this kind of thing where they don't talk, or they have this kind of like conflicting personality where it's like, you know, which one is the best. They both have like their own unique qualities, but they all also share some like really common interests, like killing Nazis and stuff. But then like, say you've got Jess, I'm currently playing as Soph, then you also have like Jess, who is the girl of the dark hat, who is my co-op partner, and she can kind of like, she prefers like long distance, the kind of like shooting and stuff narratively, while Soph kind of likes to do kind of like melee and close quarters combat. Now they could have done that with the gameplay, but they don't, and I don't really mind that, because obviously it's one of these things where you want to be able to allow like both characters to kind of like be played in however kind of way you want. I think it only kind of changes from the beginning of the game. Love the combat, by the way. The sliding in this game is really, really fun too, you may have noticed. Like in the original kind of Wolfenstein kind of games, you know, with New Order and the New Colossus, the sliding wasn't as fun. Like it was there, but you kind of didn't really do much of it. Like, you kind of just kind of like did it for kind of like stealthing behind boxes and stuff, or just doing like little attacks and things. But in this, the slide goes on forever, and I love it because it means that you can do some really cool kind of like action moves and stuff. Also, the the grab kills in this are so fun as well, because you grab the enemy gun and you can actually like use the trigger to kind of like fire bullets off, and it like just flying everywhere. And it's this kind of thing where you really feel that struggle of them fighting for the gun with you. Like, they can't kill you when you do kind of like the CQC kind of like quick time finishes and stuff. It's this kind of thing where it just feels cool, but that they've done that as an attack animation, you know? It's kind of cool, kind of awesome. And so, yeah, the sisters are really fun, they're really cool to use. I've not actually played proper co-op yet, I have been doing this with the AI partner, but the AI partner is really competent, really cool as well when it comes to their teamwork. You can ping enemies to make them focus fire on people. When it comes to the stealth itself, the AI partner will actually have infinite cloak, so it actually allows you to initiate or just continuously do stealth whenever you want. It means that also, like, say if there's an enemy nearby, they won't let enemies know that they're there, in a sense. Like, if you're really close to an enemy, look at that as well, you could do these crushing abilities. I think you have, like, all of the abilities that BJ had from the new Colossus, but then it's this thing you have to kind of like unlock them as you play the game. So I've got like the stomp, you have the charge, you have like the, you know, the dual wielding which you have to unlock as well and stuff, and then like, you know, when it comes to kind of like his ability to carry even heavy weapons and stuff, you have to unlock that. And it's got that kind of like really cool progression because you can actually feel the sisters getting better and becoming BJ ×2 in a sense, you know. And there's this thing where they're fighting way more enemies, and the enemies are a lot tougher too. Look at the BFG just like shredding people. The visuals in this game are gorgeous, I just want to say that. It's this thing where I'm playing this on the PlayStation 4, and just like the PC, it just looks fantastic. It's a really pretty game, really, really polished, and I'm just really loving it. And that is one thing I've always come to expect when it comes to Arcane Studios, is that they do really good gameplay, they do really good narrative, and they also really do good visual quality too. On art design, oh my goodness, there's such a feeling of like Dishonored in this game, like the environments, the cities, like Dunwall is like bleeding within this world, you know. And so, yeah, just I'm loving every little bit of it. And it's this thing where I don't really understand like the poor kind of like reception it's getting, in a sense. Like, why is the kind of like the leveling system like such an issue? Like, I've had no issue in it whatsoever. It's actually really, really fun. It's this thing where it feels justified again because you're having to work together as a team, and it's this thing where the AI works with you. And I've never had this kind of issue of feeling out leveled or kind of feeling like I'm having to like hit a brick wall or enemies are like major bullet sponges, because what they do too is they do this thing where you kind of like have different weapon types that kind of combat different types of health bars. So like, say if you're fighting kind of like an uber enemy, then you will end up being able to, like, say, use the assault rifle, which will have like the ability to shred armor, or you'll have a gun that's actually better at kind of like shredding health. And so it's this kind of thing where and again, the camaraderie between the two sisters is really fun. You kind of see it here, which is really cool. And whenever you go into these elevators, they do like different kind of like little moments, which is kind of awesome. When I was playing this level, for some reason they kind of like reused the kind of like slapsy windmilling fight for some reason, but I've had it where they're kind of like dancing together and doing like choreography and doing like rock paper scissors and stuff. Really badass. And there's also bits where they fist bump when they come out of elevators. You will see that at the end of this video. And so yeah, it's just kind of cool thing where the gameplay feels really justified in a really well planned out way, because like if you think in like the Army of Two games, it was this thing where they kind of did the same thing, where there was like kind of like a leveling system in a sense to enemies. You didn't have like the numerical value to it, but you had like this thing where enemies had like a lot of armor and you had to like work together as a team to take it down. And that's pretty much the exact same thing. It's this thing where you're having to work together because, again, you're not BJ Blazkowicz, but also you're really powerful, and so you don't really want to feel like you're steamrolling stuff. And so they make it so then you kind of have to work together to shred that armor and to take down those enemies. You can take down things by yourself if you're highly leveled enough, but it's that thing where you're working together with an AI partner and they want to try and do something really different narratively, where you're playing as two characters in a sense, you know? And so I kind of like that. I like that they've been able to make it so like kind of like, say, Dead Space 3 as well, you know? You had the kind of co-op thing, but you could play by yourself, and they were able to narratively tweak it so you were just playing by yourself. But in this, they've made it so then the characters are both in the story at the same time, but also in the gameplay at the same time. And it's this thing where they can be both in the combat and also feel like they're like useful and like, you know, kind of like working together and actually kind of like in sync. Especially when it comes to like damage output and like, say, weapon combinations and stuff like that. You know, like an enemy might actually have like a health bar that is, you know, like 4 armor, and then right after that it could be organic, or it could be the other way around. And it's a thing where if one like partner is using a certain type of weapon and another one is using another one, it's this kind of thing where you're kind of able to fight those enemies a little bit more interestingly. You can actually communicate that and say like, hey, I want you to use this kind of gun, and I'm going to use this kind of gun, and that's kind of awesome. I mean, that's really, really cool. And let me know your opinion though in the comment section below. Like, do you agree with that? Do you like the idea of having this thing where they've kind of like put a leveling system in to like add more challenge to the game. Again, I think it's great. I don't know what you think of it. I think it's one of those things where I think it's a really cool design choice when it's one of these things where making kind of like 2-player and co-op work while also allowing you to play single player as much as you want. Because again, the game does not hold you back. It's this kind of thing where it's not trying to make you pay for microtransactions to get more powerful. It's not this thing where it's trying to make you grind. Like, I've been playing the story casually. I barely touch any of the daily, weekly challenges, and it's this kind of thing where I barely touch any of the side quests. I've just been playing the story and having fun with it, and wandering around the city and killing Nazis and collecting stuff, you know? And it's this kind of thing where, again, it just doesn't force you to do anything outside of what you expect of a first-person shooter, which is great. And again, you can play however you want. If you want to play uber powerful stealth badass, you can do that. Or if you want to kind of do this kind of like frenetic kind of gun kata stuff, then you can do that too. And as you saw, it's really fun, really accessible, and the enemies are the exact same level as me, a little bit higher. Like, if they're more powerful than you, then they'll have a skull on their head, but for that, you're just working together as a team. It's this thing where I have been able to find that every enemy that is higher level than me is easy to take down if you just work together with your AI partner or with your cooperative partner. So what the issue there is, I'm not too sure. Now, when it comes to playing in co-op, you have two choices. The first one is that you can actually just find other people online, you can host games, join games, and then just kind of like casually play the game. You can replay levels if you want, you can do side quests together, daily challenges and stuff like that, or what you can do is you can buy the deluxe edition. Now, this is a really cool thing about the deluxe edition, is that you get something called the buddy code. Now, I've not actually used this yet. I'm really hoping I get to soon, though. And what that allows you to do is actually, it's kind of like, say, Far Cry. Far Cry did the exact same thing, where you can actually invite players into your game to play the game with you. I actually think this is a bug here, this visual bug. Can you see how the map, like, or like the FOV is like completely messed up? You can see, like, it looks like kind of like, what's it called, Sokovia? It looks like the Sokovia city, you know, in in Avengers 2. It's like a dome world, like floating in the sky. I don't think it's supposed to do that. I think it's some kind of like visual bug that's happened, but still really cool kind of environment, how it's like changing things like horizontally and vertically. But anyway, when it comes to the buddy system, is this thing where you get in the deluxe edition a code which you can invite anyone into your game for free, and so they can actually play the entire game with you without having to purchase the game itself. And Far Cry did this, where you had the buddy system kind of like key code thing too. And so what you can do is you can get your friend from anywhere around the world to download the International Trial Edition, and then they use the code to join your game, and then you just play together. You just play together normally. Also, a really cool, I think this is a quadruple stealth killer right here. This is one of these things I was thinking, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to stay in stealth and pull this off? And you're going to see it right here. It's so badass. So I'm kind of like, well, I could just like throw a grenade here, but I was thinking, yeah, maybe I can use guns. No, I'm just going to like freaking throw axes at people as quick as possible, and then rush in here and do a melee kill, because you only get like 3 axes as a standard. You have to actually unlock, I think, 6 as a capacity, but I thought that was really cool, really badass. You can do that, you know? And again, that stealth system allowing you to kind of like take people out silently, but not kind of like, you know, put you in this kind of like situation where you have to go into combat. And so what we're going to see here now is going to be the boss battles. Now, with the boss battles, you do a really cool one at the beginning where you fight someone in a super suit, and then what you do is you go into these brother towers, and the brother towers are kind of what you have to take down before you get to the end of the game. I don't know what happens at that point. I'm not going to spoil it as well, if that ever happens too, if I end up doing more of these gameplays. But what you do have to do is fight these kind of like giant robots. And so each one has actually been a little bit different each time, which is kind of cool too. Not expecting that to change when it comes to Brother 3 Tower and Brother 4 Tower. But the really badass thing as well is that the environments will change when you go to Brother 3 Tower and Brother 4 Tower as well. So like the first one that I went to, which is Brother 1, it's kind of like a slum area. But then when you go to, I think it's Brother 2, it's kind of like this kind of thing where it's all about, like, I don't know how you'd say, like Independence Day, kind of like, you know, 4th of July, kind of celebrating and stuff like that. It's like a really rich kind of area and stuff. And so it's really cool that the environments are so big and so varied, kind of again like the new Colossus. But it's this thing where there's just so much to look forward to. You will be playing in these environments so much as well, but they've made them so nicely kind of like sized. What you're seeing here too is this boss completely whooping us, and this is the thing, you've got to work together as a team and use the right weapons. Like right here, I'm just kind of like settling in using the assault rifle. Do not use the assault rifle for this type of enemy. You may notice that he's got like a white health bar. with little blocks. So what you want to do is actually change to a weapon type. You may notice here, look, when you're changing weapons on the weapon wheel, is that it has different kind of like health block, kind of like counteracting kind of things in the center of them when you select them. Did not notice that up until this point. And so it's this thing where I have a little bit of a challenge because I'm not using the correct weapon types, and I'm wondering, is this the thing that people are having issues with when they come to playing this game? Is it that they're just not taking out enemies the correct way? Like, as you can see here, look, I'm trying to use the shotgun, and it's not really doing that much damage until now from using the grenade to weaken that enemy, because the grenades are really good for taking down that type of enemy, but the shotgun is really good for taking down white bars, while the assault rifle is really good for taking kind of like black bars, or I guess hollow bars. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's supposed to be like semi-armor or something, or just weak armor or light armor. I'm not too sure. And so it's that thing where if you use the correct ammo, and if you were to give your teammates to be using the correct weapons as well, you could just melt enemies, and you can just completely kind of like, you can have that steamrolling factor if you want, or if you want to kind of have more of an elongated fight, you can play by yourself. But the cool thing too is that the AI will actually upgrade their own weapons and things as well, and I believe they'll actually use the weapons that are needed within that situation. Now, when it comes to getting downed, you may have noticed I got downed, but also Jess is downed here too, is that you have something called the free life system. Now, you can actually go pick up your partner, which is obviously one of those things that happens in these kind of games, where you can just tap them in, as you can see here, or they can actually bleed out. Now, bleeding out does not actually kill them from the get-go, it actually makes them use a life. You may notice next to Jess's health on the right side there, she has these free little, like, health symbols, like hearts. Now, what that means is that you have free hearts, you share these between the two of you, and so if you, say, can't get to your partner in time, they can use the bleed out, and it allows them to get some health back, but also be back into the fight. And you use those, but then if you say you die, and you use those free, you will be fully gone. It's one of these things that I believe that if one of the systems is out for the count completely, I've not actually come across it yet, then you will be fully dead. So you have one of these things where you both have to be alive in some shape or form at all times, be it bleeding out or actually alive and kicking ass. Trying to use some different weapons here. This is the grenade launcher that I just unlocked, and it seems to be doing quite well against this enemy. Though, then again, you did just unlock this in this tower. You may notice as well I'm using this peps thing here. Now, the peps thing is where you kind of like get to buff your teammates, or you can kind of like buff yourself as well, where you can give each other like a health boost or an armor boost. That is the cyberpunk what'd you call it, the cyberpunk kind of like doing the Mr. Arigato, Domo Arigato Mr. Roboto kind of like dance thing, which is kind of cool. You can do things like devil horns, fist bumps, there's like a dance move, like fighting stances, and they all give you like different kind of like buffs and stuff. It's kind of like that like emoji kind of like, you know, gesture thing, which is cool, which is awesome. I wanted to look at this robot as well while I was whipping it. Nearing the end of this video, though, I hope you've enjoyed it. Lots to talk about. That's the kind of thing. There's been lots to talk about, and it's this thing where I've been having a lot of fun in this game. The weapon customization, the character customization again, which is all kind of gained through progression, through playing the game. There's no kind of like forced microtransactions. You can do that if you want to kind of like rush through stuff, not with the leveling, but with like, say, the unlocks for skins, or for like, say, just weapons and stuff. You want to become uber powerful, you can buy that, or you can just play the game normally. The game does not rush you when doing that. It's that kind of thing where you can just do it by, you know, playing the game however you want. Like if you want to do stealth like I'm going to do here, then you can do that. If you just want to go in guns blazing, you can do that too. The game doesn't kind of like give you points based on a certain type of play style either. Like as you can see, look, I can kill this guy, get 320 plus XP, but then I could go in like say with a gun and then I'll get pretty much the same, you know? It's that kind of thing where it doesn't make you say like, oh, well, if you're going to do stealth, then you'll get more experience. Oh, if you do like guns blazing, then you'll, you know, just like kind of like keeping the action going, those combos going, or something like stupid like that, you know, in other games, then that's how you get experience. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do a, what was that game called with the Whiplash thing, and it was made by Epic Games, and they only did one of them. I can't remember what the game was called, and you kind of like had to do like style points and stuff, and you had to like kick enemies into stuff. They did a redo of the game recently where you kind of got to play as Duke Nukem in it. I don't know why, but they did. What was that called? Oh my goodness, it's on like the tip of my tongue. Epic Games made it, you know, so they kind of had to break from like Gears of War and stuff. They ended up bringing that instead. I cannot remember what that game was called. I remember playing like half of it and I got really bored. I think it was because the game, I guess again, it was that kind of thing where it wanted you to play or dance how it wanted you to dance, you know? It was this kind of thing where you couldn't just freestyle it. You had to kind of like do some kills to get some points to get then that amount of experience, and that kind of annoyed me. I really didn't like that. I appreciated that with Rage 2 as well. where you can play the game how you want, and you kind of like level up the way you want as well. You know, it's just all about having fun. And again, Bethesda have done a really good job of making it where when it comes to these first-person shooters like Wolfenstein, Doom, and Rage 2, Rage 2 too, then, you know, it's this thing where it's all just about having fun in the chaos and just doing it how you want. Like right here, like I just sit here and just kind of figure out my plan of attack. I'm able to do that because I actually am unlocking ability, which means I can actually activate camo, and then if I stand in position, then my camo meter won't drain. And it's this kind of thing where it just allows you to open up so many different types of playstyles again and stuff. It's this kind of thing where you can actually end up communicating with your partner and going, right, well, how should we do this? Should we like go guns blazing left to right, or should we like try and sneak it? Do you want to take like the right lane and the left lane, or should we kind of like mix up down the middle and do this thing where you can kind of like take down enemies like really quickly together in like groups and stuff? It's just, there's just so much that you can do in it, and it's the same when it comes to the gunplay, like just using those different combinations of weapons and stuff. And it's just, I like that kind of thing where it's like play how you want and also kill how you want, when just do it how you want, you know. And it's the same when it comes to kind of like the navigation around levels. So like kind of like in Dishonored and stuff, where the levels are really open, where you could go through apartment buildings and stuff like that, you know, like a few apartment buildings, not every apartment building, but you can do that in Wolfenstein Youngblood too. And that is awesome. It's this kind of thing where you're not just going through streets. You can actually jump onto kind of like parasols or balconies and then go through certain rooms to like cut across things, or kind of get around enemies and like large patrols and stuff. If you want to like sneak by stuff, you can do that. And it's that kind of thing where there's just an immense amount of semi-freedom to it. And I just really appreciate that. I just really love that. I'd love to know your opinion though. Comment section below, let me know. Do you like that kind of feeling of having a lot of freedom, or do you find that overwhelming? Is this kind of thing where you like to be kind of like put on a focused path and like just, you know, just like kind of like what Doom was. Doom was just kind of like arenas, and you kind of just like shut everything, you know. And so do you like that, or do you kind of prefer this thing where you got these like open levels and just doing what you want and kicking butt, you know, just the way that you choose? Or do you kind of like this kind of thing where it wants you to do a specific thing, or I don't know, it's kind of thing where it tries to cater to everyone in this game, I feel, and I think that's a good thing. I kind of give a nod and approval of that, you know. But anyway, it's been me, Josh, Proxy, bringing you some Wolfenstein Youngblood on the PlayStation 4 Pro. It's really awesome, really fun. If you want to buy this now, you can on pretty much every platform. It's even out on the Switch, and supposedly it looks great on the Switch as well. Like, look how pretty this game is, and it's on the Switch. But it has been me, Josh, aka Proxy, bringing you some Wolfenstein Youngblood. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree with me or don't. Give me a dislike if you want. I can take it. Or give me a like if you've enjoyed this video and what I've been waffling on about. All that shizzle. But either way, it's been me, Josh, and I'll miss you. And I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now.